finding 54-year-old District Judge Kevin Mullins suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He died at the scene.
We know that it was an argument between the two that led up, but what exactly transpired prior to the shots being fired, still things that we're trying to get answers to.
Welcome back to We the People University. My name is Abiyah Israel, former police officer and former sheriff's deputy. And today we have a really interesting video for you guys, and it's a two-part video. I need you guys, and this is probably the first time I'm asking you guys or pleading with you guys to stay tuned until the end. Please stay until the end. It is literally life and death, literally life and death. Please watch this video all the way to the end. Before we get to that, I want to share with you guys a situation that just took place in the state of Kentucky. A sheriff, of all people, a sheriff and a judge gets into an argument, and the sheriff ends up firing the judge in his chambers. Really interesting video. Before I show you that, again, I have a viewer email from a viewer that I want to read really quickly and help him out with his question. This is Rodrigo. He says, "Hey Abiyah, I've been watching your videos for some time now, and I have been wanting to know where I could get my state laws at, or if you could help me get to know them." Well, to learn your state laws, it's as easy as just simply Googling. That's like the most simple way. Just Google your state. So for example, if I'm in Georgia, I'm going to Google Georgia state laws. And more specifically, if I'm asking a question like, let's say, trespassing, state law for trespassing in Georgia or trespassing in the state of Georgia. And it's going to populate, your state's website where the law is held. And then you just go to that website, and your state is going to tell you everything that you need to know about those laws. And it's going to take some reading. It's going to take a little bit of time to get to know it all. But that is the easiest way for you to learn the laws of your state. And shout out to you that you're even taking this step to learn your state laws, because so many people have not done so yet, or they're just not motivated yet. But we're trying to get those guys motivated so we can all know the law and all know our rights. Therefore, we can protect ourselves and others against tyrannical police officers, much like the one we're about to watch right now. Let's jump into this video. It's a short news clip, but it's of a sheriff, an elected official who really murdered a judge within his chambers yesterday. Let's watch this.
The sheriff is in custody, and Faith Abiyah joins us with the story. Good morning, Faith.
Yeah, good morning to you, Michael. This deadly shooting has shaken the small Kentucky community to its core. Police say the sheriff walked into the judge's chamber. Witnesses heard an argument, and then moments later, multiple gunshots.
This morning, a Kentucky sheriff is behind bars after allegedly opening fire on a district judge at a courthouse Thursday, killing him.
Shots fired.
Several law enforcement agencies responding to reports of gunfire inside the Letcher County Courthouse just before 3 p.m., finding 54-year-old District Judge Kevin Mullins suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He died at the scene.
We know that it was an argument between the two that led up, but what exactly transpired prior to the shots being fired, still things that we're trying to get answers to.
43-year-old Sheriff Sean Stein's taken into custody at the scene, charged with one count of first-degree murder. Investigators haven't released a motive. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear tweeting, "There is far too much violence in this world, and I pray there's a path to a better tomorrow."
And Rebecca, authorities haven't said exactly what led to the argument between the sheriff and the judge, but they do say the sheriff is cooperating with their investigation. Rebecca.
Just so shocking that it all went down there inside the courthouse. Okay.
No, Rebecca, it's not really shocking. Interesting video because what happened, but when you sit back and think about everything that we've come to learn about law enforcement and how tyrannical these guys are, and the level of I can do anything that circulates through their mind, this is not shocking whatsoever, Rebecca. And I also wish that, the governor would have the same thought process when it's not a judge, when it's an everyday citizen who's being gunned down, who's being tasered, beat up, rights are being violated, thrown in jail, and convicted of murders that there's a very, very strong possibility that they did not commit I say that to segue into the next point. I ask you guys to stay around because the second portion is very important. There is no video clip, but I have an article of a man who is scheduled to die by injection in 4 days. Today is the 20th, and this is going to happen on September 24th. But I want to read this to you guys, and please listen to what I'm reading. Please focus on what's being said because it's very, very important. I want to read this to you, and I want you guys, please. I think there's a petition, and I'm searching for a petition, and if I can find it, I'm going to have that pinned down in the bottom of the video. Please, if you guys could help after you hear what we're about to read, and if you guys don't believe it or you guys think, hey, it's justified, then by all means. But after this information, you know, you make up your own mind. And if you feel like this is some crap, as we always see when it comes down to law enforcement or a lot of times the judicial system in this country, please, if I can find that petition, the link will be down below. Please sign it. If at the very least, tell me your thoughts about this in the comment section. I'm gonna read this. Missouri judge rejects innocent claim by a man on death row. Marcellus Williams, who was convicted in 1998, now faces execution later this month. Just a month ago, Mr. Williams, who was convicted of killing Felicia Gale, a well-known newspaper reporter in her suburban St. Louis home in 1998, had seemed likely to be released or at least removed from death row. But now he is just days away from execution. There is no basis for a court to find that Williams is innocent, and no court has made such a finding, Judge Bruce F. Hilton wrote in his opinion. Williams is guilty of first-degree murder and has been sentenced to death. Mr. Williams, 55, is scheduled to die by lethal injection on September 24th. The effort to clear him was upended last month just before a court hearing by a last-minute analysis of trace DNA found on the murder weapon, a kitchen knife. Mr. Williams and his lawyers had hoped it would show that an unknown third party had committed the murder. Instead, the DNA was consistent with that of a detective and prosecutor who handled the knife, which left Mr. Williams and his lawyer without evidence that they hoped would point to another suspect. Now, that's the first part of it. Here's what I want you guys to catch. There's no evidence of this guy, no DNA evidence that he ever had possession of this weapon, that, as we're going to continue to read, there's no evidence that he was ever at the scene. How did he get involved? I don't know. Let's keep reading. In his ruling on Thursday, Judge Hilton, who heard the prosecutor's motion to overturn the conviction, said that the new analysis had unraveled Mr. Williams' claims of innocence, detailed in a 63-page motion brought by the prosecutor, Wesley Bell. Mr. Williams' legal team said it would continue to pursue his case and appeal to Governor Mike Parson for clemency. There is still time for the courts or Governor Parson to ensure that Missouri does not commit the irreparable injustice of executing an innocent person, said Tricia Raja Bunshell, executive director of the Midwest Innocent Project, which represents Mr. Williams. Prosecuting attorney Bell filed a motion because there is overwhelming evidence that Marcellus Williams' trial was constitutionally unfair. Mr. Bell's motion said that the two main witnesses against Mr. Williams had not been credible and that the jury had not been allowed to hear evidence that one of them had been in possession of a laptop stolen from Miss Gale's home. Mr. Williams, the motion said, was not the source of bloody shoe prints, fingerprints, and hair found at the crime scene. So here's where it gets a little confusing for me, at least, and maybe you guys can help me out down below in the comment section. So as I'm reading this, the jury was not allowed to hear that one of the witnesses was actually in possession of a laptop stolen from the home of the victim who was murdered. A witness was in possession of the stolen laptop. Maybe we want to look at that a little bit, right? But yet, the courts would not allow the jury to hear that part of the argument. And as they go on, it clearly says that Mr. Williams, the guy who was found guilty, was not the source of bloody shoe prints, fingerprints, or hair found at the scene. So now I'm confused because we're looking at DNA, we're trying to figure this thing out. And although we can see that his DNA wasn't there, they're saying that there's not enough to show that this guy is innocent and that he really wasn't even at the scene. There's no evidence that we can pin on him to show that he was ever there. Now, I can be misunderstanding something here, but this just does not sound right. Right? And we talk about these things every day. We talk about police corruption. We talk about even it reaching as high as, the courts, and the fight that we have to fight as the people to fight for our freedoms, our rights. And here there's a man that his life is going to be taken from him in 4 days based on a bunch of BS and based on the courts rejecting new evidence. Why is this happening? Let's keep reading. Mr. Bell filed his motion in January, and a hearing before Judge Hilton was scheduled August 21st. 2 days before that, a private laboratory hired by Mr. Bell completed the new DNA analysis. While its findings did not point to Mr. Williams' guilt, they showed that the murder weapon had been mishandled by investigators and therefore could not be used to demonstrate his innocence. So the murder weapon does not show that this man is guilty, but it shows that it was mishandled by the people who are bringing the allegations against this guy. And for that reason, we're going to throw out all evidence because it's his fault. It's Mr. Williams' fault. And listen to what the judge has to say concerning this. This is one of the most all of it's disturbing, but this is a disturbing part as well. Let's keep reading. Mr. Bell, a Democrat who has promised to use the prosecutor's office to correct past mistakes by law enforcement in St. Louis County, offered a compromise. Mr. Williams would be spared execution but serve a life sentence. Judge Hilton said that after consulting with the victim's widower, who did not want the death penalty used in this case, he would approve the new sentence. But the state attorney general, Andrew Bailey, stepped in saying that the judge should not have the authority to do so. Now, initially, the judge spoke with the widower and he's like, hey, listen, I don't want the death penalty used. Okay, says the judge, we won't use the death penalty, but here comes the attorney general and says, hey, judge, you don't have that authority. But the judge is going to flip-flop here, and this is really crazy. And I'm almost done. Please stick with me to the end. Let's keep reading. At the hearing, Mr. Bell's team argued that the mishandling of the knife had been a bad faith failure to preserve evidence and had violated Mr. Williams' rights. Judge Hilton rejected that argument, citing testimony that when the trial took place in 2001, no one understood that touch could leave traces of DNA. So because we didn't know this in 2001 and we did this and we left traces of our DNA and we kind of messed up the evidence, we're going to go ahead and execute this guy in 2024, even though we don't have the evidence. And there's more evidence to say that he was not guilty than there is evidence to say that he is guilty. We're going to execute him anyway. Even though there's something that we kind of lean on, we're supposed to lean on, before we make these type of judgment calls, when we say guilty without a shadow of a doubt, there's nothing but shadows in this situation. Okay, there's nothing but shadows. You have a murder weapon that does not even have this guy's DNA on it, but it has the investigator's DNA or the prosecutor or somebody. Their DNA is on it, but not the guy who you said is actually guilty of the murder. There's no DNA. Not only to mention that, you have a witness who's testifying against the suspect in this case, but yet the witness is actually in possession of a laptop stolen from the victim's home. And we don't think this is important? This is the crazy part to me. How do we not think that part's important? And not only that, the article goes on to say that Mr. Williams is not even the source of fingerprints, shoe prints, or hair that was found at the scene. So if he's not the source of these things, I'm sorely confused of how this guy's being convicted of murder and he's about to be executed here in 4 days, 4 days time. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm at a loss for words at this point. That doesn't happen too often. I'm angry. I'm confused. Just frustrated with this entire situation. But yet, when there's something, we just watched a video earlier about a judge being shot by a sheriff who we've been telling you guys for the longest, these guys are tyrants and they kill people. Simple welfare checks are turning into target practice. Okay, a simple welfare check now is target practice for law enforcement. And so now this is breaking news because, well, the judge got shot by the same guys. A lot of people like to say, hey, you guys are crazy. You guys just love to hate the police. Really? Do you still feel the same way now that the judge is shot? So how should the public feel about this particular situation, knowing that there's a member of the public who you guys have gone to great lengths to execute here in 4 days, when there's overwhelming evidence showing that this guy is not guilty of this crime? And you have a prosecutor, the guy who actually normally is out to, prosecute individuals. He's fighting for the suspect, saying that this is not right. The prosecutor is the one actually saying this is not right. The guy is innocent. Hey, let's even compromise. Let's not do the death penalty, life in prison. Let's do that. And they say no to that. But there is no overwhelming evidence that this guy is guilty. It's actually more evidence showing that he's not guilty. Please leave your comments down below. Know your rights. Know the laws. With that being said, We the People University, signing off. If you're one of the viewers who reached out saying that you're not getting any of the We the People University notifications, I have a solution. By texting WTPU to 844-764-2158, I can personally notify you whenever we publish videos. Text WTPU to 844-764-2158 and you will receive a text message notification with the link every time we publish a video.